What's up, my friends? Brant Phillips with Real Estate Fundamentals. And recently I was invited to speak with Quest IRA to talk about mobile home parks, right? And so if you're interested in mobile home park investing, in this video, you're going to see, where I give some of the fundamentals of mobile home park investing, kind of a 101 introduction to mobile home park investing model, why I absolutely love it, and why after buying hundreds of single family homes, I've slowly, or not so slowly, quickly transitioning my business to focus on mobile home parks. I absolutely love them. I'm also going to go through a quick case study of a mobile home park deal that I purchased recently. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Give me some thumbs up if you like it. Hit that subscribe button and give me some feedback, comments, questions. I know you're going to have some questions if you're just getting started out. Guys, utilize this platform. Hit us up. We're going to give you some responses. We're going to give you some feedback. We're going to help you out, help you to grow your business. So once again, guys, hope you enjoy the video.
All right. I know that you have had quite enough of me and you are ready for our guest of honor, Mr. Brant Phillips, and his rags to riches story of mobile home investing. So thanks so much for being here with us today, Brant. Take it away.
I will. Let me share my screen. Let me know if y'all can see my screen first off. My video and audio is good and all that kind of stuff. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, well, yeah, so, I'll be honest, mobile home parks hasn't been rags to riches for me, but that's okay. I did start out in rags in real estate about 15 years ago, but I'll spare you guys my story for now, maybe weave it into this presentation. But yeah, so we're going to talk about, mobile home park investing, kind of give you a basics of the 101, some things that I've learned and what I'm looking for when it comes to mobile home park investing, and also going to do a mobile home park case study of a deal that I did. One of my first actually mobile home park that I bought a couple of years ago. So, you mentioned rags to riches. It hasn't come from mobile home parks. It certainly can for those of you out here looking to kind of find your niche in the world of real estate investing. But, I started out, 14, 15 years ago, and I was broke. I bought my first investment property on a credit card. I was living in an apartment and that kind of thing. And but since that time, I've gone on to buy hundreds of single family deals. I've done commercial deals. We're developing a couple of subdivisions right now. I'm doing a lot of things in the world of real estate. But, my slide here is like after doing hundreds of single family deals, I bought a mobile home park, right? And so that usually, triggers the question like, all right, Brant, why would you do that? Because, mobile home parks, let's just be honest. There's a stigma with mobile homes and mobile home parks. And there's just, they're kind of thing over here to the side that a lot of people don't pay attention to. At least they haven't. But myself and a lot of other people in the last few years have really been taking a look at the mobile home park investment model. And so I'm going to explain why I made this leap into mobile home park investing. I'm still buying single family. I've built out my team to do that. We're buying single family homes, every month that we fix and flip, fix and rent. We do owner financing, do all those types of things. But I'm a serial real estate entrepreneur. And so several years ago, there's things that really started changing in the marketplace. I'm really going back 5-6 years, whenever basically, we went 7-8 years without a correction, and we're still without a real correction in the real estate market, at least here in the Texas market. And a couple of things started happening. One is just the competition with each and every home became more competitive. Prices increased, right? And marketing dollars increased, all those types of things. So I was like, you know what? Let me look and see if I'm being as efficient as I can, with my business. So like I said, I've not stopped buying single family. We're still doing that. But I said, let me look at what else is out there. I've never been an apartment guy. I'm not going to get into that in this presentation for lack of time. But I started doing some research on mobile homes and mobile home parks. I had a very close friend who'd been investing in mobile homes for quite some time. And to be quite honest, I never really paid attention to it. I kind of thought, maybe he's a redneck and that kind of thing. I was stereotyped the guy, even though he was one of my best friends. And like, hey, bud, let me learn a little bit about what you're doing. Tell me about some of your numbers. So he started telling me a little bit about some of his deals, and I'm like, dang, that sounds really remarkable, to be quite honest with you. So I started doing online research, right? Some of you today may be a real estate investor, you may be a lender. And so, right, this is kind of where any investment should start, with building your foundation of knowledge, and then you start taking action steps built upon that knowledge that you've gained. So I started researching, found a lot of information, right? And this is what Forbes said, and this resonated with me, and I found this to be true. Is some of that benefits of mobile home parks is there's a lower cost per unit as compared to single family homes, of course, and even so with apartments. Lower costs for repairs and maintenance. I'll explain why that is in just a minute, but basically it's because the model that I use is the residents own their home, therefore they are responsible for all the repairs on the home, and we own the land and rent the lot space out. We're able to spread out our risk, right? If you've got some consolidated with, like in a building, you've got 50 units in a building, that building goes down, things like that. So we're able to scale and spread our risk with multiple parks, and the homes aren't connected. There's some space there with those. Demand is high, meaning affordable housing. It is essentially a crisis in America. And that's, I've kind of built my business on medium price housing and below. And, we as entrepreneurs, we're rewarded the most by fixing the biggest problems. And that's a problem in our market. And I'm like, why not provide some solutions to the marketplace with clean and functional, affordable housing? Much less turnover, right? An owner who is invested in their home, there's going to be a lot less turnover than a renter, right, on a 1-year lease. That's a huge advantage. Mom and pop owners, right? So, a lot of the apartments they've turned over. Late 90s, 2000s, especially after the crash, for the most part, when in the apartment industry, you've got very savvy, well-versed real estate investors, entrepreneurs who own those buildings. So a little harder to negotiate deals and things like that. And they're better maintained, and et cetera, et cetera. But there's more mom and pop owners in the mobile home space. I met with the mobile home park owner this weekend, and the place was it was a train wreck. It was a mess, which means deferred maintenance, things that we do. It's a value add opportunity. It means we can buy it at a much cheaper price. And there's just a lot less competition. There's some barriers of entry into the mobile home park space. I would say number one is it starts with that stigma. Like, a lot of people just aren't looking at it, not even considering it. And then you will probably change your mind after watching this presentation or some of my videos on YouTube. But another thing is that with less competition, the other reason for that is because of financing. So mobile home parks are typically, unless they're above $1 million, they're not, financed by banks, right? There's not institutional lenders for them unless they get above that 7-figure mark. So there's less competition. And, I know this is a Quest RA presentation for this. If you're watching the recording, of course, that's what this is about. And I've now funded, let me see, 3 of my parks with, 100% Quest RA money. So that's been really cool. So this was the biggest eye-opener. Yeah.
We can't see your screen if you've shared it. I just wanted to let you know.
The whole time or just now?
The whole time. So I was making sure you could share your screen so we could see.
Oh, okay. I thought y'all had that.
Nope,
okay.
No biggie. We got it. Awesome.
All right. So here's basically what you missed, so you've got the screens here. All right. So this was the biggest eye opener to me as I started doing my research. Was, everyone knows Warren Buffett. A lot of people don't know Sam Zell. I didn't know of Sam Zell until, several years ago, and started doing research on him. He's basically, long story short, he is the greatest real estate investor of all time. He's like the Tom Brady of real estate investors. And so I started doing this research, kind of knew a little bit about Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett, owns Berkshire Hathaway owns Clayton Homes, which is the largest manufacturer of mobile homes, or manufactured homes, I guess I should say the term, and 21st Mortgage Corporation, which is the largest financier of manufactured homes. So Warren's interested in the space, right? And then we look at Sam Zell. So Sam Zell, like I said, he's done it all and he's done it big, commercial, apartments, skyscrapers, storage, you name it, shopping malls, strip centers, all that kind of stuff. Well, I read a story about Sam. This was in his book, and he was acquiring a company, or his company was acquiring a company in the mid '80s. And one of the holdings of this company was a mobile home park. And so Sam, got one of his guys and said, "Hey, I need you to go check this thing out, fly out, check this thing out, figure out what we have to do to get rid of it, because obviously we don't want to own a mobile home park. Who would want to do that?" And it was basically kind of what he said. And so his guy went out, took a look at the park, got into the books and stuff like that. He came back. And Sam's like, so how was it? And he's like, "You're not going to believe this." And Sam's like, "It was worse than we thought." He's like, "No, I've never seen anything like it. It's print and cash, with very, very low operating expenses." So long story short, they ended up holding on to that mobile home park. Now, here's what's more interesting. So since that time, Sam Zell, their company has gone on to be the largest single mobile home park owner. You can see there at the time of this, a screenshot of this, that they owned over 144,000 mobile home and RV sites across North America. What's more compelling than that is that Sam has sold off over half of his inventory of apartments, commercial properties, various properties over the years, yet he's never sold a mobile home park. That was extremely, extremely eye-opening to me, right? And that's when I was like, I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole, all right? So that was enough for me. So let me give you a little bit of 101, a little mobile home park investing 101. And if I can talk quickly enough through this presentation, we'll do some question and answer as well. So mobile home park investing 101. Here's like some of the basics. Here's some of the bullet points, the fundamentals, if you will, of mobile home park investing. Is number one is we own the land, right? This isn't an owner finance type of deal. We're not selling the land. We're holding and retaining that land. I do a lot of other mobile home park mobile home investing, where we sell mobile homes on land and owner finance that to them as a package deal. That's a different deal. That's real property, basically treated like single family. That's not this right here. What we're talking about is that, stereotypical mobile home park that we've all seen, right? Some are nicer than others. We are investing in rundown parks typically and fixing them up to be very, very nice, clean, functional, kind of the value add with the apartment model. But number one, we own the land, just to make sure we're clear on that. Number two, they own the home. There are a lot of mobile home park owners that own the manufactured home or the mobile home. They're kind of the same thing, but they own it, but they rent it out. We don't do that. That is not in my model. Why is that? I'm not a big fan of rentals in terms, I am in wealth creation. I am in cash flow and things like that. But one of my big turnoffs, with apartments, to be quite frank with you, is that, over my 50 years of doing real estate, I've not had pleasurable experiences dealing with tenants. Even with full-time property manager in place, a lot of the problems, the stories, the headaches, the expenses, I'm cutting the checks. I'm still dealing with that. And that's never been an ideal business for me, even though I still hold rentals to this day. So when I found the mobile home park model where they owned the home and they're just paying me for lot rent, this was like a huge shift for me, right? It was a paradigm shift. I'm like, wow, this is kind of the best of both worlds for me, because I was already doing a lot of owner financing in the single family space. So I, apply this model where they own the home. Either they currently own the home, they own it free and clear, or they've got a bank loan from 21st Mortgage or for wherever, and they're responsible for that. Or yes, we owner finance them the home, but they're not calling us for repairs, right? That's the big difference here. And this is the beauty of the model. We own the land, they pay lot rent, they own the home, free and clear, some different financing structure. Okay, number three is kind of our responsibility. This is what we do. We provide and maintain the infrastructure, right? Making sure that they have utilities going to their home. Doesn't mean we pay for them. It means that they have water, electrical, sometimes gas services going to their home. They're responsible for those utilities. We have to keep up the roads, right? Lighting, signage, mailboxes, little things like that, and that's about it, guys. Not a lot of moving parts, when you compare this once again to the apartment model, where you're constantly doing make readies and turnovers and repair requests and that kind of stuff. That's the headache part of real estate that I don't like. And I've found I don't have to worry about that here so much, right? General common area maintenance, right? And so what that means, number four, is, hey, yeah, we may be responsible, and I say may be responsible for mowing the yards if there's a park and things like that, taking care of that. But typically, the residents are responsible for mowing their own yard for their own green space. So some mobile home parks don't really have much common area maintenance. So that's kind of a possibility there. And then we enforce community rules and laws, right? So we are the park manager, the property manager. So we have to enforce the rules and the guidelines that we've established, and create the community, right? So I've done several turnarounds now, or in the process of doing several turnarounds as well, and we have to create that community, right? There's people that you have to get out that aren't, abiding by the rules, that may be just causing some negative situations, and we have to deal with that, right? We've kind of There's some culture building that has to be done, and it's absolutely critical. It's one of the biggest things that's going to determine the success of a park that I've found, and you've got to do it really, really quickly. And it's not, honestly, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. It's a little tough work when you're dealing with, possible, drug dealers, people with a rough background, a criminal background, maybe a violent criminal history, so I didn't mention this, but I had, law enforcement background and things like that. So I was no stranger to dealing with, some folks like that. And I've kind of embraced the turnaround part of it. And then you have to embrace it, right, for this model to be successful. So this is kind of the overview, the 101 of investing. There's some other things with it, but we're going to get into that via a case study. So this was technically the second park I bought. The first one I bought, though, was primarily an RV park, and I say primarily because it had, I don't know, 30 or so, about 35 RV pads, although most of our residents there are staying there long term, and they've been there 2, 5, 10 years living in RV. And so it's kind of managed like a mobile home park. But we also had some cabins. We had some mobile homes there. We had a single family home there. So that was my first property. So this was the second property or park that I bought. But this one was really 100% mobile home park. And it was a very small property. So I acquired this, about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And we got it for $100,000. The seller was asking for $150,000, and I was very honest with them. I told them, I said, you know what, I think you can sell it for more. To be honest, I told them I thought they could sell it for about 175,000, and they had previously owner financed it to an investor and received a very large lump sum down payment and financed the rest. It was for an out-of-state investor, and he walked on them. It was too much for him, to be quite honest. So, I tried to talk the mom and pop, seller, from not sell to me. I'm like, yeah, I've developed some rapport and friendship with them. I'm like, I think you can sell this thing for a lot more. I can even help you do that if you want. But it was just kind of too small for me, is what I told them. So it's just a little too small for me. I was looking for, something much bigger than this one. I thought it was going to be too much work for the size. And they basically said, we're ready to be done. We want to get out. We've owned this thing for 15 years. What's your price? And I'm like, I don't want to buy it. And they said 125, 110, 105. Finally, they got down to 100,000. I'm like, I guess I have to buy this thing. So I did. And so here's some of the numbers. It was a 10 cap at the purchase with a lot of value opportunities. Not to say a lot, but substantial value add opportunities. It's 15 lots, meaning that's what it's kind of permitted for and approved with the city. It was very low occupancy, less than 50% at that time. I think we had 7 people who were paying, but a couple of them were very, very sketchy and have since gone on, and we had to demolish some homes and things like that that were just rough and tough and stuff like that. Utilities. This is huge. Okay. This is huge. So any of you thinking about getting into mobile home park investing, you're going to you're probably going to spend most of your time when you're talking about your deals and analyzing deals in the management amidst talking about utilities, right? I was, on some phone call someday, and my wife is always, with me a lot of times. And she's like, every time you're talking about a mobile home park, you're talking about utilities. Why is that? And I'm like, it's kind of, number one, it's one of the, main things and only things we have to deal with, other than getting lots in and some of the management stuff. And my assistant does all that. So this is critical, guys. So the electric was individually metered already, meaning every single lot had, a meter pole and a meter, so that if there's a home there, or when there would be a home there, that meter would be metered just for that home, and that resident will be responsible for calling the utility company and getting service turned on and paying that bill. We do not want to do that. You may run across a lot of parks and they're all bills paid. I bought one that was all bills paid, and we had to go through that process of getting it individually metered and set up for them to pay. And it's very expensive and time consuming, but it increases the value of the property tremendously. So this one was already individually metered. The water, this is critical. It was city water. That meaning there was city water lines already ran under the ground, stubbed out to each home. Each home had their individual meter, so they're billed by the city. You may run across some parks that have a water well. I bought a property. The first property I bought had a water well. I was familiar with water wells a little bit with homes. They're not that big of a deal. If you have a water well, if it's broke, you fix it. If it needs to be replaced, you replace it. It's $7,000 to $10,000. Not a big deal. It's a whole different animal whenever you're dealing with a community and a little organization, state funded, called the TCEQ, the Texas Committee on Environmental Quality, if I'm not mistaken there. They are, in charge of making sure that all public water well systems are maintenance and up to code. And I've got a stack of papers around my office somewhere that's about that thick of things that we have to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, biannually basis, including testing and getting lab reports and all this kind of stuff at the property that I bought with a water well. I would strongly encourage you to do your research if you're looking at a property with a water well. I'm not a big fan of them. I will not buy any more properties, I'm pretty sure, that on a water well system unless they have the ability to be converted over to city water. It is not cheap. We have another park that we purchased in Illinois, and we're replacing all the water lines. It's close to a 6-figure type of deal. So it's not a cheap conversion. So that's very, very important, right? And not only is it important as city water, but also that's individually metered, because we have another property and it was city water, but not individually metered, right? So that means we're getting the bill, and we're either it's all bills paid kind of thing. We've got to bill this back, and we've got to set up sub metering and all that type of stuff. And city sewer as well. Ideal to have city sewer as opposed to a septic tank, a pond, a lagoon, all these other types of septic situations. So with the utilities on this particular park, it checked all the boxes as being ideal, right? City water, city sewer, and electric was already individually metered. This is, once again, very, very critical for the management of your park, the profitability of your park, the cap rate, the sellability of your park, and all those types of things. So that was great. And then I looked into the expansion of like, hey, do we have an opportunity to expand here? with this particular park. There was another acre and a half, 2 acres. Um, it's very extremely sloped, but we're beginning to have talks with engineers, and we can easily expand 5 more lots. We may get 7 to 10 there. We're not quite sure yet because we're still focusing on getting to 100% occupancy, which we're almost at, and then we'll look at expansion. And then, the other detail of this one is it was financed by private capital, right? So we financed this one private capital. Originally, bought it for 100,000. We've invested about $200,000 since in improvement and some improvements, road work, things like that I'll get into, but primarily adding homes that were, owner financing. So this is another critical thing when you're looking at a park is the what is the metro? What's the area? What's the size of this particular city or location of the home? So ideally, everything would be in a big city or close proximity to a big city. But what you'll find is a lot of those parks, especially the ones say over 50 or 100 lots, the big hedge fund guys, right? The Sam Zales, these funds are coming in. They are buying these things now. They're paying 6 caps on these things. The cat is out of the bag, so to speak, and they're all over them. So they're a little bit more difficult to find. When it comes to a rural area, you just have to do your research, right? Like I'd like to see a metro size, size of 50,000 or so with the park that I'm going to buy. We want to make sure there's enough population, enough demand there. But we also want to look at the median home price. So the median home price on this one of 78,000 was a little bit low. We'd like it to be in the 150,000. Anything above 150,000 is great. And what that means is if the median price is, price for a home is 150,000, then, the mobile home park lifestyle or option for, your low income folks that's kind of the default place, route that they have to go, that versus an apartment. We're actually cheaper than apartments and actually more favorable based on research and studies. I can't get into that a whole lot. But when I looked at the median home prices here and I looked at some of the homes that were on the market, which just wasn't very many, they were run down, old, small little 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So I felt very, very confident the product that we're going to offer was going to be more affordable and a better product for them. So this was a small town, much smaller. I may have been turned off. But another thing that compelled me about it, this is the city of Rusk, Texas. If any of you are familiar with it, just a little small East Texas town. I'm very familiar with East Texas. I go up about once a month to check on my parks. And I was up there last week. We took a little RV trip. We took my kids and we stopped by the park. But this was the other thing that I liked about it. Even though Rusk was a really small town, kind of what you're looking at right here is kind of the thriving metropolis of Rusk, Texas. And the big building here is the local grocery store. It's like a Brookshire's Brothers grocery store. There's a Ace Hardware store of some sort. This is like a donut place. The bank is here, and these are where my residents deposit their money each and every month, and they play like clockwork. This is a really great park. Honestly, this is a great community. But there's employment. There's other places here. Downtown is about a mile or so. About a mile or so that way. So these people have close proximity to employment, to food, to all the necessities of life. There is a huge state hospital that's a mile and a half away as well. I would love if there was a Walmart, within a few miles. There's not. I think it's 10 or 15 miles away, but which is kind of a key indicator too of a potential good site is your proximity to a Walmart and just good employment. State, state government type of business institutions like hospitals, universities, like I said, the Walmart, some of the big box kind of stores within 5-10 miles. Those are things you want to see for employment purposes and things like that. So when I started looking at this deal, and its close proximity to kind of the happenings of Rusk, I liked it. I really, really did. I like the infrastructure. So here's some of the pictures before. It was, nothing pretty to look at, just kind of some of your typical, older homes that were run down. You see here, this one was on the process of being demolished, but they had not done it yet. And I don't have a ton of pictures for this, but that's what you see. just, the fencing was there, but this was a rundown mobile home. This one was a rundown one. Old signage that was just, kind of nasty and old. Had the, trash dumpster right in the middle, working on getting that done. Old broken down basketball court. And these are some of the after pictures. So we are, like I said, if you're familiar with the apartment investing model, a value play add, a value add type of play, we're going in and giving them a really good product, right? That's our goal, is to be best product, best price, clean, affordable, safe housing is what we're all about. Includes getting out, some of the riffraff and giving them a good community and just some pride of ownership. So this is the first home you see there. We ended up buying it from a resident. It was right there, and it was run down. We spent about $15,000, I believe. We fully renovated it. We painted it, we skirted it, painted the deck, painted the inside, did some flooring, did some countertops, stuff like that. Fully renovated that house. She moved to another house, a little bit nicer home. We did some work on that too. And then we actually owner financed this home to another resident who's there. It had an old mailbox. We got, the commercial grade type of mailboxes at the entry. This was after we had done some road work. You can see the construction still going on at this home at the time of this shooting. But we did some road work. It wasn't quite done there, just adding some rock and some base and stuff like that to the flooring. We put a new sign in, and there's a couple pictures. I don't have great pictures here. There's a sign that we have there. Hey, keep it to 5 miles per hour, no illegal dumping, no ATVs, no trespassing, that kind of stuff. And then just a little kind of, marketing, like, well, I keep renting, and so we have kind of advertising our owner finance option to owner finance these homes to people. So we built out a website. I don't have a lot of other pictures. I wish I did, because we are almost at 100% accuracy, occupancy. But what I want to talk about now, and we'll open up to questions, is real quickly, I'll go through some of my numbers. I'm a single family guy background, right? So I'm not, like some of these guys who have these really tricked out calculators for multifamily and stuff like that. I kind of put this thing together myself as I was learning this model. But these were the numbers. If you kind of look at this first column, this was what things were at kind of purchase price. We're basically at 7 lots at $250 per month lot rents. This is kind of where we're at today in this column, and this is where we're looking to be in the future. We're scheduled. We did a almost immediate rent increase. I say almost. We went about 5 months till we increased rents to 300, which was, I believe, March of this year. And we're in the process. We're going to have annual rent increases. A lot of the pops don't do that. The seller of this home had never raised rents in 15 years. Okay. But nor did he spend any money into the park. It was kind of a sad situation a little bit, and so we're doing our part to educate people, say, they know there's going to be modest rent increases each year. Taxes, insurance, cost of living, all that type of stuff goes up, right? Well, so do our expenses. And then that also allows us to have a sustainable model so we can continue to do upgrades and just maintenance on the park that we need to do. So this is kind of purchase, where we're at the purchase, where we are at today, and kind of what our projections, a pro forma, if you will, look like for the future. So the bottom line is let's look at the purchase. For basically $100,000 of investment to get an operating income in the $35,000 range with an expense ratio at 40%, and that's the industry standard is 30 to 40% for most parks. Some people don't believe me. I've got this one around 18 to 15 in the future. The only reason that is number one, we're self-managed, so I don't have that in there. It's one of my assistants who's managing all of our parks virtually. Number two, we have 0 utilities. We don't have water, electric, gas. We don't even have a light bill. And we haven't figured that out because we have a couple of lights there. Don't understand that. We don't have a trash bill. That's billed through to the residents, included in the water bill from the city. So we've got, basically we have insurance. We have one of our residents who we discount his lot rent. He mows the yard for us for half the lot rent, but he's very, very happy with that agreement because he's got a riding lawnmower that someone gifted him at the park. And number two, he mows the yards of the other residents. So it's kind of a good gig for him, right? So we just don't have a lot of fences in this park, a little annual tree trimming and stuff like that. I suspect this is a little bit low, just to be, full disclosure. But the industry average for a healthy park should be in the 30 to 40% operating expense ratio. So this shows where we bought it at our current cap rate. And this is really thrown off because the way my spreadsheet is, right? So as I fast forward to today, everything that I've kind of anticipated as us being in the 335 range, this number should be much lower than that. So our purchase cap rate was much higher, but this is kind of what we're projecting at today. This is about what we have invested in the property. And this is the future, assuming that we will add 1 to 2 homes because we typically buy older homes. So this is kind of my debt on where we're at. Cash on cash return was negative, but you can see that starts looking much, much nicer. I don't have a lot of cash in this deal personally, and this is where our cash flows are at today and where they're going for the future after we get fully occupied. And like I said, we're 13 homes today. We've got 2 more lots to fill. I thought I missed a slide there. Oh, this was kind of the same slide, but I blew it, shrunk it down so you could see everything here. All right, so I'm going to wrap up, but just kind of want to wrap up a few things. So mobile home park, yeah, they're about going from rags to riches, I guess, as this started out, but helping to create wealth, create income. But my experience has been when you do it the right way, it is a real opportunity to improve some local communities and give people an opportunity for home ownership in a community they can be proud to call home. And not to get all sentimental here, but the American dream for low-income folks of having that 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in the suburbs is dissipating very, very quickly, right? Like here in Houston, starter home housing is going into the 300,000s really quick. I read it's going to be, median price housing is going to be like California here pretty soon. It's going to be above 500,000 in a matter of years. And that's just not going to be affordable for a lot. I would almost say most. And so what the mobile home model does is it really gives someone that their opportunity for the American dream, right? To have that 2 or 3 bedroom home, 2-bathroom home that they can call their own. We've got some residents that have just done amazing jobs with pride of ownership, fixing up their home. And that's it. They have pride of ownership and they help to build our community, maintain our community. They're, help us eyes and ears to manage the property, to be honest, because these things, the closest property I have is over an hour away from me. I've got some that are 2 to 4 hours away and one that's, I got to get on a plane to get there. And they're kind of self-managing with, and also an assistant who manages them virtually and has contact with the residents. But it's because there's pride of ownership there. It's that there's a real sense of community. People are proud to call it home, and they know that it's partly their responsibility to keep up that neighborhood and keep communication going. So there's been, in my short time of doing this in just a couple of years, a lot of just real feel-good moments too. While the balance sheet's looking good, the cash flow's looking great as well with these parts. So we're excited about it. Last thing I'll share is, if you don't know me, I'm out there on the interwebs. If you want to check me out, I've got a YouTube show. I do a lot of videos on, well, not a lot, but I do quite a few videos and training on mobile home parks, mobile home park investing, as well as single family. I've done some case studies there as well, some properties that we have. Do some walkthroughs of parks that I've bought, and gonna go a little bit more in depth in this if you want to check those out. This is a property that we bought south of Houston right there. And if you want to get a copy of my book, I wrote a book called The Private Lender Playbook that's focused on how to set yourself up properly as a private lender. And so you can get a copy of that by going to brantphillips.com/free-book. And you know what? I think that's all I have. So I guess we can open it up for Q&A. Do I just read the questions that have been posed here, or do I
I'll take care of that part, Brant.
Okay. Great.
So thank you so much for that wonderful information. I certainly learned a lot, and I know everybody else did too. We actually have tons of questions. Thank you so much for putting your contact information up here. I know that that's something that people are asking about. We have so many questions. So I'm going to ask probably the ones that are the most similar, because I know we don't have time to get to all of them. But the first one is about moving mobile homes. This specific person has tried reaching out to dozens of companies and no one will move them right now. They're looking at a park that needs to move 6 trailers out of a floodplain. They happen to be in Illinois, if that's helpful. Do you have any advice for that?
You're going to want to find, someone who's licensed with that particular state as a mover or it's called an RBI license, like a retailer and installer kind of thing. Yeah, so I've got a beeping. Sorry about that. It was on my computer. So that's very, I'd like that person, if they can, to reach out to me personally, because we own a park in Illinois that we're looking to fill. And we also have, we're negotiating another mobile home park in Illinois as well. So we may be interested in, working with these people to help them get some of these homes moved or sold or things like that. But if they've got a destination they want to get them to, they just need to find who's licensed with the state to do that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. A lot of people are asking about the metrics and kind of like analyzing the deal either from an existing mobile home or, and this probably changes things a lot, or building from the ground up, kind of starting brand new.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So there are two really different, types of analysis that you have to do. The simplest way I can say is it's really just a cap rate. What is your income and what are your expenses? And then you start looking at other just various, characteristics of the park. You want to look at your utilities. Like I said, you want to look at your metro, your size of your metro. You want to look if there's easy opportunity for expanding that park size. And then you get into, is it permitted? Is it approved? Is it in the county? Is it an ETJ? And all these different things. What are the market lot rents? When's the last time they've been increased? Is there opportunity to increase so that you can increase your income, your revenue? And then other ways that you can reduce expenses, right? Like if it's all paid, if things aren't individually metered. So that's when you just start digging into those opportunities. And then you just start looking at, SWOT analysis, kind of what are the strengths and the opportunities there? And what are some of the threats that you may, encounter? Examples, water well, all that kind of stuff. Developing mobile home parks, my mentor and a lot of, really smart people have gone before me have really spoken negatively about developing parks. There just wasn't a good argument for it because there's there's 44,000 or so mobile home parks in America, although that number is decreasing each and every year because some are getting sold and demolished, and Home Depots are building there and things like that. So they're kind of a dinosaur, if you will. But, I've done, exhaustive research and analysis on developing parks, and we're actually under contract now. We're purchasing 92 acres to build out a close to 200 lot mobile home park and RV boat storage on half and half. They're two kind of separate kind of things, but on the same piece of land. It's kind of frontage to a major highway. So we're working on that. That's a different animal. Probably don't have time to get into that right now, but it's just a matter of plugging in all your expenses, your costs, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a whole different animal, to be honest with you, of developing a park and starting from ground zero and getting lots filled in versus having a park that's already has home setting and people that are paying. It's a much easier model to, successfully execute.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much. We have a lot of questions in regards to like if the tenants aren't paying their utilities, what can you do about that if that affects you? Can they possibly put a lien on the park or anything like that for unpaid bills? for
Yeah.
utilities?
So
Kind of getting similar type of questions like that.
yeah, so we've never dealt with that in terms of the utilities, but I've dealt with it on the single family side of things, right? So that the utilities kind of thing, I wouldn't worry about that too much if that's in their name, right? That is not your responsibility. We dealt with that with tenants, and all we had to do is provide documentation, lease, and stuff like that, saying they're responsible for this. This is not our bill. So that's easy to overcome. With evictions, we had to evict one during COVID, and the kind of the interesting thing is it's kind of a standard eviction, but with this particular eviction, if they get evicted, and this is why evictions are so low and collections are so high with mobile home parks. So I've read this and really experienced it, that collections in the mobile home park industry are well above 90%. Why is that? Okay, and evictions are extremely low. Why is it? Because this is their home, right? Like 60 to 70% of all manufactured homes in America are owned free and clear. So let's just say that you have a resident that owns their home free and clear, and they're paying you $300 to $400 a month for lot rent. Why would they leave that home? Where are they going to go that they're going to be able to live for $300 to $400 a month, right? That place does not exist. So that's why they retain their homes. Or we've had a couple of situations where people leave and they basically just sell the home. These are older homes that may sell it for $1,000 or $10,000, but now someone can move into that home, start paying their lot rent, and there they go. That's cheaper for them even to get evicted. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. So we did get one eviction. It wasn't a problem, even during COVID. And she just chose to leave and abandon her home, which was fine with us. We actually demolished that one. Didn't make sense to fix it up. But hopefully that answers that question. Is basically, the summary is evictions, you can get evictions. But the good news is you should be dealing with those much less frequently than you do with, single family or apartments.
Well, that's good to know. We have so many questions still. I'm going to ask one more to everybody that we didn't get to your question. Please make sure you're reaching out to Brant or here at Quest, and we'd be happy to help you. Let's see. We have a lot of questions about how you raise the money to fund this mobile park. Can you talk a little bit about that, raising the capital?
Yeah, I mean, so how I funded my parks, honestly, it started 15 years ago, right? So I started going to Quest events, back in 2009. It was still interest at that point in time. And, that's, like I said, I've, been in this business a long time. I've been working with private lenders for, 13 years now. So the same principles apply though with, mobile homes, multifamily, single family, those types of things. I always like to say the formula for raising private money is good deals and trustworthy people. So for those of you looking to raise money for deals, is you really need to, if it's your first mobile home park, be careful. Obviously, expand your foundation of knowledge, right? Get some help, get some mentoring, training, whatever you need to do. Get a broad base of foundational knowledge before you start putting other people's money into your deals. And so that's first and foremost. But from there, it's like all about your relationships with your lenders, making sure that they understand how their money is being secured, what that business endeavor is, what that real estate investment is, how their money's secured, how they're getting that return on their money, what's your exit strategy, all those types of things. So you just need to be able to communicate those things, be able to answer those questions, and basically ease their concern that, hey, you're going to be a good steward with that money and they're going to get back, plus their agreed to interest that you've agreed to with them. If you can do that, then virtually any deal in the world is available to you as a borrower with private money. That's been my experience. After doing hundreds of these deals, but I guess I did have an advantage because my lenders I had already been working with for many years, and I had letting them know, hey, I'm really looking into this model. I'll keep you guys posted when I find a good one, and I did, and I just kind of took action on it, and they've trusted me, and I've very grateful for them, and now we're doing multiple parks at a time.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here with us this afternoon. I honestly haven't seen this many questions come up from a speaker in a long time. So I know the information that you shared was very useful and very appreciated by everybody that joined in. Thanks again for being with us today.